physical, I think you're going to see us. We're going to have to just keep maturing. You got young guys you're bringing along. You got your offensive line that needs to continue to mature. I think it's just something we've got to continue to get better in what we do. And they're a great opponent. We got them at home, first conference game, so we got to focus in on what we've got to do as a team to get better as an offensive unit. That's going to be my job. It's going to be my job to make sure that, hey, look, it's a great win last week against Auburn, but it's Florida State right now, and everybody tells me it's a first conference games, big rival. Everybody says it's a big rival, so
What's the excitement been like so far since you got beat Auburn in the championship?
Well, I think obviously anytime you get a win, it's great. I mean, everybody's excited about it, and it was a big win for the program, big win for our players and coaches, and and for this university. I mean, goodness, you saw a lot of people just extremely excited after the game, and they should be. But again, there's bigger games ahead, and that's what we got to prepare for.
Have you been impressed by Taj's play from spring until now?
I have. Coming out of spring ball, I thought Taj was, he had a lot of work to do. And he and I talked about that in depth, and I think you saw him do that work, commit that time this summer, and I've been really pleased with the way he's progressed, the way he's taken on leadership. I mean, there were several times the other night I couldn't find him on the sidelines because he was down there trying to cheer on the defense and rah-rah those guys, and that's what you like to see. You really like to see that, and anytime he comes off the field, he comes off and he works his way from the receivers to the O-line to the running backs, and then he'll come and find me, and he and I usually communicate, but that's what you want. We've asked him to take on more ownership, and that's what he's doing.
Pace, approach, max performance at any time during the game, or
our tempo?
Yeah.
I thought it was. I thought our tempo was good. There was a couple series that I was a little disappointed in. I thought we could have maybe got about 3 or 4 more snaps out of it, but we snapped the ball 92 times, had 3 penalties, and we had 2 3-and-outs to start the game. I mean, if you don't have those 3-and-outs, I mean, you're looking in excess of 100 snaps, and so I was glad to see that. I was definitely. I thought our tempo was good, and they're starting to grasp what I'm asking of them.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah.
In the context of the game, that last possession obviously was important in that it capped it. But did it say something more about how far the team, the offense has come in that you're able to run 9 minutes and 40-some seconds off the clock at the end of the game when you needed to?
I think so. I think it just shows that, that it took on a big challenge last week, the challenge that we put forth in front of them to get better. And, it was more so worrying about ourselves than it was anybody else. It's just we got to focus on what we do. We got to practice more physical. We got to play more physical, have a different approach. And I think you saw that late in the game. I think you saw that, our tempo, the fact that we were being able to withstand. I mean, we had a 7-play drive prior to that in the fourth quarter. I mean, we had the ball most of the fourth quarter, and so I do. I think that says something about these guys and maturing and buying into it.
Are Peak and Bryant maybe farther along than you expected, maybe back in camp, to be at this point? See.
Well, as with all young guys, they're. You'll see some of them that'll have highs and have lows, and I think you saw Sharon that is, basically he's played some in the first 2 games and played quite a bit, and he hadn't really caught any balls and really got in the flow of things. Makes a huge 3rd down catch for us, and I thought that was great. I think and then you look at Martavius the week before. Martavius played a lot more than he did last week, and it's just a feel. It's a feel that you get, and it's a flow of the game, and. But I do. I think both those guys are definitely, on the right track, and was glad to see that Sharon really stepped up and had 2 key catches.
Chad, the 624 yards you guys rolled up. I mean, the school's played football for 120 years, and that's third best ever. Yet you and Dabo both say there's a lot more out there for this offense. I mean, are we expecting, what, 900 yards, 1,000 yards?
I hope not. No. You know, it's regardless if it was 1 yard or 701 yards. I mean, we got to win, and whatever it takes, and that's our approach. That's the thing. You know, telling the guys on the sidelines, you know, we're down 21-7, and I wasn't panicking. Nobody was panicking. Down 14-0. Nobody was panicking. You know, I got over there and got them up and just said, hey, this is why we're here. Let's go. Let's have some fun. This is when it gets fun. And that was my approach to them. And so, you know, what can you expect out of this offense? You know, we take great pride. We do want it to be explosive. We do. You know, there's things that we do that we feel like we can get the ball to our playmakers in many different ways. And so as long as our players continue to buy in and believe, it's, you know, it's not going to be this way every week. I know that. We got a great opponent this week, defensive opponent, but, you know, again, it goes back to we got to do what we do and just get a little bit better. So,
Is there ever a moment that where, because of what you learned from Gus and some of the similarities in offense, where you'll just kind of click on the tape from Saturday, from what Auburn did, and just say, oh, this is what he did here, or that's what he did there?
oh yeah, and you know, I definitely and you know, I'll study them and we'll continue to watch them for the rest of the year and just, you know, and we'll continue to talk as we do and just pick each other's brains. So yeah, absolutely.
I know there was a ton of hype around Sammy, but with his first 3 weeks, does he even exceed the expectations you guys set out for him, and how is he coming along there?
Well, I think Sammy's definitely he's definitely playing. You know, I think he's one of the elite players in the country. There's no question on that. You know, he's been able to do it, not just receiving, but you know, he's carrying the football. He's been able to move around all over the field, and his return game, and you know, he's a phenomenal athlete. But again, I said it last week, he's a better person than he is a football player, and that's what you appreciate. You appreciate his humbleness, and you know, there's some things he's got to continue to do to get better. He's got to continue to play more physical. While he did step his game up blocking wise the other day, and we challenged him last week, you know, we're going to coach Sammy harder than we do anybody else. I mean, I'm going to coach Taj Boyd harder than anybody else. We're going to coach Dwayne Allen harder than anybody else. You know, we can't let these guys that you know are getting the limelight or whatever you call it, and you know, they're the kind of guys that are the ones that they're getting all the notoriety. I mean, no, those guys you got to coach harder and demand more of and hold more accountable, and that's what we do. That's what we talked about with our offensive staff, and I mean, just because you had 2 or 3 good games, that doesn't mean anything right now. I mean, it's not going to be the first 3 games we're going to be remembered by.
Jack, can you tell with your up-tempo approach, so many teams are doing it.
Mhm.
In the NFL, college, everybody seems to be doing it. Can you tell if that diminishes an advantage you might have had 2 years ago or so?
Well, I think you're seeing a lot more defenses having to play against it,
Right.
and that didn't have to play against it a couple of years ago. So I do. I think maybe that it takes some of the surprise out of it, some of the wow factor out of it, but you still have to line up and play 4 solid quarters at a breakneck pace, and it's, you may not be able to sense and see the results in quarter 1, quarter 2, but late in quarter 3 and quarter 4 is when, you know, if can you really start seeing it wear on them. And I think we've been able to see that over the last 3 weeks. I think you look at our last 3 weeks game, and you know, like we told our players, told our offense at halftime the other night, we're tied 21 up, is that, well, that's great. We've been playing our best football in the second half. Now it's time for our best football to come out. And I think you're starting to see, and I think that has a little bit of the result to the tempo in what we're doing as well.
Philip Price was a guy a lot of people kind of had question marks about one season. I guess it's probably a good thing that we haven't heard much about him since then. I assume he's
You know, Philip. Yeah, no, Philip is you know, he's an extremely tough player. He comes out there last week and dings his left shoulder up a little bit, or his right shoulder, and you know, and you'd have never known it. I mean, he sat out the rest of practice, came back, man, jumped right back in there, and away he went the next day and played through some pain, but that's who he is. And I appreciate his toughness. I appreciate his ruggedness. And just, you know, did he make some mistakes? Absolutely, he made some mistakes. But that happens to young players. And but he's got to continue to get better, as they all do. But yeah, I've been pleased with Phillip.
So he dinged his shoulders against Wofford instead of missing?
No, in practice last week, just kind of nothing, had a little stinger in practice, but just came back and never let it affect him.
What kind of luxury does Dwayne Allen give you as a play caller?
Well, I think, you know, you look at Dwayne, big body, great hands, physical. You know, you can put him on the line, you can put him in the backfield, you can move him all over the field, and you know, the thing that what Dwayne brings to us is his leadership and his demand for accountability by everybody. And but as a play caller, you know, you feel like that he's definitely a guy that you know, you want to get the ball in his hands. You know, there's still other things that we can do offensively with him in that position. And but again, it's when are we ready to start doing that and grow into that? And I think we're getting there. But definitely pleased with what he's showing for us. And I thought Saturday, I think it was one of his best games he's had since he's been here. And there's no question, you can just sense he and Taj on the same page so many times.
You have Taj throwing for 180 yards, and you see E.J. Manuel bang up a shoulder, run the ball. Any thought to, why don't you just sit in the pocket and throw the ball downfield?
No. Football's football. It's a rough sport. It happens, and you can't call plays that way. You can't coach that way. You got to call the game like you feel comfortable doing it, and you know, injuries are part of the game, and you got to have a plan if something happens. And you know, I'm proud of where Taj is right now. I think he feels comfortable. He's growing. He's getting better. But there's so many other things he can do to get better than where he's at right now. And you know, Taj can run the football. Taj is a heck of a runner, and you know, we've got to be able to keep expanding in that regard for him.
I think he was at 6 carries or something, 30 yards.
Yes.
Is that
Yeah, did a good job.
adequate, or still far below what you want to see?
No, that's about right. You know, I'd like to maybe see him carry the ball a little bit more, but just depends on situations and how we're doing it and what's going on. But I think he's, you know, again, I was pleased with the way he pulled the ball down and made some plays with his feet.
You spoke of Brandon Thomas earlier. Where are you with left guard right now? How's that all going to shake out? Is David going to be back this week?
Well, I think the way that Brandon played, I think it's Brandon's right now, today, Monday, you know, and we go through inside period tomorrow, and it may be somebody else's job, but right now, I think the way he played well enough to earn a start, at least earn a start for Monday's practice or Tuesday's practice. And you know, at the end of the week, we may have a whole different attitude about it, but we'll see. But you know, I want Brandon to come out there today and tomorrow with the same excitement that I have for Brandon. I want him to have the same excitement for himself, and we hope we see that. I think we will.
How do you get the players to buy into that excitement that you have to them, to make them understand how important that is? How do you get them up like that?
Well, I think the thing you have to do as a coach, and our coaching staff has to do, is you got to hold them accountable. You got to demand that this is what we're going to do. You got to demand excellence, and this is how we're going to practice, and this is what it's going to be. And if you don't like it, then I'm sorry. And the first part of the week last week, they didn't care for me too much, and I don't care. I don't need 22-year-old friends. I'm good. I love them. They know I love them. There's so many texts that I got from them Saturday after the game thanking, you know, Coach, thank you. But that's our job. That's what we're supposed to do. And told them this morning in our 6:30 meeting is that expect this week to be harder than last week. We're going to hold you more accountable this week than we did last week. And now let's keep buying in and keep believing. And they are. I mean, they are. It's just, you know, it's a combination of a lot of things. One of them is buying into what we're trying to sell. The other is the fact of just believing in themselves and believing in their teammates, and and that hey, this whatever we're asked to do, let's go do it.
Was it Florida State's individual defensive personnel that stands out there?
Very talented, very athletic. They're physical up front. Their secondary, it runs really well. I think their linebacking core is definitely one of the best that we've seen, without a doubt. They're very active. They move to the ball really well. So those just in what I've seen through Sunday and Monday, that's kind of what I've seen with it. And, very well coached, and as you would expect. But again, they're coming off a loss. They're going to be ready to go, and coming in Death Valley, it'll be a great atmosphere, and our players will be ready, and we'll have a great plan together for them, and they'll have a great plan for us, and here we go.
Right. Anything else for Coach Morris?